How to repair a broken water or drain line. A lot of times you have an old pipe and there are many different ways it can fail. Some of them are glue joints, hairline cracks, or even screw holes. These can easily be repaired. Some of the methods are permanent, some of them are temporary. I'll let you know which ones. Let's start with a fitting glue joint leaking. Now you're going to need to get glue. Since this is PVC, I'm getting PVC glue and purple primer. If this were black ABS, you'd need to get black ABS glue but no primer. Now PVC wasn't always white. Here are some 1970s PVC fittings. You can see this is beige Schedule 40 and this is gray Schedule 40. This does say Schedule 40 on it. Those can be repaired the same way. So you're first going to take your primer. Now this is very messy. It won't come off whatever it gets on. So be careful. And you just go around, and this is going to easily repair this. Now this is more temporary since this glue isn't actually going between the pipe and the fitting. But this will be a good fix till you can get it properly replaced. So you want to go run around and just get a lot of primer on there. We need this primer for the glue to stick properly. Alright, now we're going to get the glue. You don't want that primer to dry. Primer needs to stay soft. And you want to get a lot of glue on here. You might even do this in layers. So this is just going to cover up that hole, and you can see how that will fix the leak. Alright, that's if it's a fitting. Now let's say there's a small hairline crack. This can be repaired too. It'll be repaired the exact same way. So we're going to take our primer. You don't need as much. And you want to go around and fill in the crack. And see how I'm making a big area around there where I'm putting primer. So now I'm going to take the glue and apply it the same way. Again, not allowing the primer to dry. And that filled the crack right up. Now this is another temporary fix. You don't want to leave anything like this in permanently. Let that dry. You can do it in layers. Now let's say if it's a screw hole, we can't just coat it in glue. There's an actual hole. So what I like to do is I like to take PVC pipe, cut it short, and then cut a little piece out of it. So you basically make a little C-clip. I'm actually going to clip that onto the pipe. So I'm going to apply primer and glue. You don't want to use foam core PVC for this. Just standard PVC works best. And on a vent line, this could be permanent. But if it's a drain line that's actually having water running down it, or a water line, you want to get this replaced. But since this would be a vent line, it'd be fine because there's no actual water in it. Alright, now I'm going to apply some primer here. Alright, so now I got a good amount of primer. I'm going to apply the glue, adding a lot of glue. Because remember, this is not a proper fitting. This is just a piece of pipe. So you're going to want to make sure you add a lot of glue. Alright, work very fastly. Clip this on. You can see how it's a very firm click, and that'll actually hold itself in place. And you need to maneuver it where you want it. So that's on, it's good, it'll hold itself in place. You don't need to add anything else. You actually want to leave it the way it is, because this is a clip. If you put a clamp on it, it'll maneuver around and it won't be in the way it wants to be. So just let it the way it is and let that dry. Now the best way, which can be permanent if a vent line, is to use a hose clamp and a piece of rubber. What we're actually going to do is we're going to clamp this piece of rubber over the hole, and that'll fix this. And this is great. You can use this on water lines, drain lines, no matter what material it is, this fix will work. But you can't use this on a fitting. So I'm going to take the hose clamp, make sure that the screw head is facing the way you want it. You want it to be easy for you to access. So I'm going to link the hose clamp together. This is a little hard to do sometimes, especially if it's in a tight space, but it does work. Alright. So, yeah, you just have to get this connected. You can start with your hands first, and then we'll use a 5/16 socket to get this linked, but you can really see how hard this is to do. And there we go. Now it's working. Okay, so now we have the clamp there, and we're gonna get a piece of rubber ready so that way we can clamp this down. So, get your piece of rubber. This is just rubber from an old Fernco coupling. You could even use an old bike inner tube or even a glove. And we're just trying to cover up that hole, get the clamp dead center, and now we're ready to tighten the clamp down. Right, so now you're going to take your 5/16 socket and we're going to tighten this down. I might have to reposition it later, and that's our case here. This is the hardest one to do, but it's the best in my opinion. Alright. Don't let that rubber move. Alright, now we're tightening the clamp down. I want to get this snug. Alright, so there are different ways. Make sure you pick the right one for your application.